Microsoft, Activision-Blizzard kind of story in this, call it, first block of the show that I just wanted to talk about very, very quickly, and then we'll cap this off and move on to other things. But this article was interesting. The headline was, Microsoft says there's nothing unique about Activision-Blizzard games. Now, the headline's obviously very clickbaity. The subheadline even more so. It says, hey, their words, not ours. But this was, I guess, came out of conversations, filings, like legal proceedings in New Zealand, where Microsoft has told regulators there that there's absolutely nothing unique about Activision Blizzard titles because they're trying to get the merger approved there. And to do that, they are trying to make the argument that Activision Blizzard doesn't produce any must-have, quote unquote, titles and should therefore be permitted to go ahead with the acquisition. So the idea is that, we want to alleviate fears that the merger is going to threaten the gaming industry or create issues around competition, and that Microsoft owning Activision Blizzard wouldn't stop people from competing in the gaming market. Jeff, sorry, I won't even ask a question. What do you think of this?
Well, wasn't there another story, and I actually think I see it on your screen on the side, where Sony had a filing where they filed and basically like, these are the greatest games ever. Like, should this acquisition go through, like, no one would have any reason to buy a Sony console, like, given how powerful and dynamic these games are. Like, it's like, clearly both sides, like Sony's obviously trying to get the deal blocked, and Activision and Microsoft are going to try to get it approved. So Microsoft's like, oh no, these games are nothing special, like pretty standard run of the mill. Like there's a million alternatives. And then Sony's doing the opposite. They're saying like, oh my God, if we lose Call of Duty, like no one's ever going to buy a PlayStation again. So it's kind of funny to see the lawyer. I wish Jimmy was here. He could point out how the lawyers are all just full of it.
So we obviously know why they're making this argument, right? Because they want the merger to go through. But do you think there's any sincerity in the argument? Right? Because it's okay. Like Microsoft can want to buy Activision Blizzard because they want, billions more in revenue. But they could potentially also admit that there's nothing that special about the games and be truthful about it. Or do you think this is really...
I mean, the game, like if I were to show, my mom or even my dad, like Call of Duty and then Battlefield, like there's no way he's gonna be like, oh, that one's much better. Like, oh wow, like I would never play that one. I would only play Call of Duty. Like it's just, they're right. There are other interchangeable first person shooters just because, it's like comparing like different blockbuster movies. Like they're still a blockbuster movie. They may have a better IP. They may do better, may have better storytelling. But like at the end of the day, there's nothing different about like Titanic or Avatar versus, Home Alone. Like they're just movies.
But does this in some ways, is this counterproductive in some way, in the sense that, yes, by making these big claims, and they have to make them publicly, right? All this comes out. Yes, they may have the merger approved, but have they, if these stories come out, does it turn off maybe less knowledgeable shareholders to thinking, wait a second, like we're buying something that's not that special? Like, I don't like this. Like, does it affect shareholder or potential investor sentiment? And therefore is counterproductive.
I think anyone who owns enough Microsoft for that to matter is definitely smart enough to understand what's going on here. So maybe like some people, I think the only people who benefit from this whole thing are the lawyers that are making money through these, having to do these ridiculous briefs and filings, and the clickbait websites who are getting, the clicks based on what are just purely throwaway filings.
Interesting. Pi says confirmed $26 million she paid this merger. Yes. It's New Zealand where it's all going down. Matt says they're clearly lying / embellishing. Why would they spend almost $70 billion on a company that makes nothing unique? Well, because they're spending $70 billion on a company that makes however many billion in revenue.
Mobile games, I would like to point out.
But people buy companies that produce pens. Nothing unique about pens, right? Like, just because the product's not unique doesn't mean it's not valuable. LinkedIn user says, FYI, broadband penetration in most African countries is over 50%, reaching over 80% in some.
So just so everyone knows, the way broadband is typically, or at least very often measured, if one house on the block has an internet connection, often the whole block is counted as having an available internet connection. So there's issues in how you measure that penetration, and then it also doesn't necessarily count speeds, which if you're talking about cloud gaming, you definitely need not only just the availability of a connection, but a decent connection. And in that, the continent still definitely lags behind, even for mobile a little bit. So.
And low latency, which you need. And again, if the networks are congested, you may have a fast connection, but if the networks are congested, it still can be a problem.